So, okay, can you hear me? It seems my network is poor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
dropped off for a second, but you're here.
Okay. So, before we dive into the questions, I have quite a number of questions already. I have about 12 questions here, and we are hoping that we could also give room for our audience to also ask questions. But before we dive into those questions, I would like our engineers, our guests, to introduce themselves briefly, what you do, where you work, where you are based, and maybe just a brief description of um, your your tech stack, if your tech stack, your previous experience, and all of that. So probably I'll start with Daniel.
Sure. Thank you, Tommy. It's actually great to be here. So my name is Daniel Tunde Ojediro. I specialize in building front-end web applications. I'm currently employed
Okay.
as a contractor with Andela, and so I'm currently assigned to a company called Insurity. Insurity is one of the largest P&C software providers in the world. So by P&C, I mean property and casualty um, insurance, right? So at Insurity, what we do is we build innovative and flexible analytical insurance technologies. And so most of our clients
Okay.
are insurance companies. So we help them to achieve their
Okay.
business objectives and also helping them to provide their own customers with exceptional insurance experiences. So I've been at Insurity for 4 years now, for the past 4 years. Yeah, doing a lot of stuff, wonderful stuff, and also learning on the go. You know, I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria,
Okay.
and I have accumulated about 9 years of professional experience in the tech industry. Even though my me getting here, I think my journey, I would say my journey started as far back as 2011. So that's
Okay.
like maybe 12 years, 13 years, thereabout.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been a wonderful journey for me. My main stack is um, front end wise React. I make use of React, JavaScript, TypeScript, but I've had to work on the back end side of things right recently, where I work working with Java and Kotlin. Right,
Okay.
so yeah, so just a brief introduction of me. So
Okay.
back to you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ezekiel. Over to you.
I'd like to say it is nice to meet Daniel. That was a very interesting introduction, and I wish I could replicate it. So let me just try, right? So, yes, my name is Ezekiel Udo, and I'm in the quality assurance career. Currently, I work at HelloFresh, and that is a company in Germany, and I work as a QA engineer. So, HelloFresh is a leading meal kits delivery and subscription service. What we do is we provide very fresh ingredients and a recipe for people to be able to cook healthy, right? And that tries to make cooking fun and tries to keep people very healthy. So the subscription service is one that ensures that everyone could subscribe and get a meal every week or 2 weeks, or it's a very flexible plan. They could pause their meals or change the delivery dates, just in a way to provide fresh food for people to stay healthy and um, to enjoy life, really, because cooking is really much fun. It's not just to to go out there and eat. Sometimes you cook with your family, your friends, and that's what we actually do. HelloFresh is in a few continents. I think we're in like 20 something countries and growing.
Okay.
And the journey to understand and contribute to the quality of the engineering that supports this service has been a very interesting one. I've been in quality assurance for around like 13 years now. Jeez, that's a long time. I am happy to work with HelloFresh. Every time I have had to, to join a company or a different sector, I learn a lot, right? And it's that knowledge that has helped me get here, and I'm willing to share that. I believe that there are questions coming later,
Yes.
and I'll share this. My stack. What's my stack? I don't really have a stack, but anything that has to do with. I mean, there are various testing tools that I could mention right now, but I'm more into quality coaching, helping teams to adopt the quality mindset so that we could all deliver quality together. So it's nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you. Kingsley, it's your turn.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Tommy. Yeah, so my name is Kingsley, Adio Kingsley, and I think I'll just follow the formats of the previous wonderful people. Yeah, so currently I work at Meta, and I guess it's relatively popular. So Meta is basically a company that brings people together through technology, and we have a couple of products that's very popular, I suppose, like Facebook, Instagram, and a few other products. Yeah, so I joined Meta about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And before then, I was working with Delivery Hero and I also worked at HelloFresh for a bit, actually. So that's interesting. Then before that, I was in Nigeria. I worked with a few companies, and then I guess I'm here now. I actually started, I came into the whole tech business, I suppose, in 2009, which was an interesting time of just like self-discovery and all of that. And I guess since 2011 thereabouts, it became something I did more professionally, and it's been on since then. I've worked on a couple of different platforms and tools and everything, so ranging from old Nokia phones, Symbian phones, and all of that, through S40 all the way. And currently, I focus on Android. So I've always been a mobile person since the onstart. Even though I did work a bit in the back end, and very, very, very quickly, like shortly on the front end, I've always been a mobile person. So yeah, as an Android developer, I guess my stack is mostly Java, Kotlin, and everything that comes together with that. Yeah, so that's a brief intro about myself. Currently, I'm based in Berlin, Germany. I've been here for about 7 years now. And yeah, that's my story, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. And in the process of answering, like introducing yourself, a couple of us already delved into the next question I was about to ask. I wanted to ask how you got into tech. I think Kingsley already shared a bit about that. But I think maybe we'll start with Ezekiel. How did you get into tech? Why did you choose software quality assurance? Was it clear from the beginning? So how did you stumble on it? Because I know that quality assurance was not so popular about 13 years ago when you started.
Yes, actually, I fell into it, and I'll tell you the story, right? So I was in my master's in the University of Bradford in England, and there was an opportunity for a summer internship, right? So I mean, this was me wondering what this was about because I've never taken part in any internship, whatever, as at that time. So I just saw it as IT, the IT that we have back in Nigeria. So I said, okay, let me try. I walked up to the university. There was a an office that said, if you're interested in this, please come around and give us your CV, and we'll look for a job for you. So I submitted my CV, and they sent me a list of options. There were about 10 or so jobs there, and I was looking for one that was similar. They were all very strange names. I came across software testing, and I was like, okay, software, I know. Testing, well, let's just see. Let me try. So I highlighted about 3 of those jobs and sent it back to the to the unit, and they shortlisted me for. They reached out to the company that wanted this person, and they said that they would like to speak with me. So I put on my suit and my tie and went to the office, and that was when I saw that I was the only one that was having a suit and tie. But tech back then, definitely this was a bank, well, not a bank, a financial institution, but people weren't dressed up the way that I did, right? And I had no idea what this was about. They brought some questions, they gave me some IQ tests, asked me to spot the difference and all those kind of things. And before I knew it, I was working there, and that's how I started. It was software testing. It was a very strange thing, but it came pretty easy because I mean, you were asked to. I was given a script to execute, right? So I had to just follow this and that, and that was my very first introduction to the world of not tech, but IT, right? Testing, this career that I'm doing right now, and it's been like that ever since. I kept on. I got one job after that, another and another. And here I am today.
Okay, wow. Nice. Thank you very much. So Daniel, I think it's your turn, but this time around, I was hoping that you could also maybe explain. Did you always know that front end was something you were going to do? Did you try something else before you got into front end? How did you know you were on the right path as a front end? Was it the money, or you liked it? It was easy for you to.
All right. Great question. Thank you for asking that. So it wasn't always front end actually. There was that period of self-discovery, like Kingsley actually said earlier, um, where you were not sure. So of course, I had a computer engineering background. That's what I
Okay.
studied, and so I mean the default thing would have been, oh, after you're done, you probably take one of the different disciplines, right? There was networking, there was security, there was also software development. Because it was quite a challenge trying to find out which of these fields um, um, I wanted to venture in, right? But back in 2011, when we went to IT, yeah, that was IT. I interned at a company where that was where I started working with like content management systems, right?
Okay.
Back then, Joomla was the most popular content management system back then. But now we have WordPress, right, which is more popular. So that's where my journey started. Interestingly, after that, I I've had to touch a whole other. I mean, in the same sphere of software development, I've had to like wear different hats. In
Mm,
2015, when I started professionally, I had to join a startup. And you know, one thing that's common with startups is you would
mm.
one way or the other have to touch different
Yes.
things, even things that are not technical, right? So I had an experience with PHP, right? Cake PHP was also popular back then. But then I discovered that, oh, this is not my strong suit actually. Um, there was a time, okay, then I moved to Android development, and luckily for me, there was a training that happened in Ife back then. I think Kingsley was one of the instructors back then. There
Wow.
was this AITI thing that Professor, what's his name now? What is
Loyalty.
Oluwaroti was championing, and they taught us building for feature phones, and also building for Android. I picked up Android, I and that was what I was doing. I did in that startup I joined in 2015. I built a product for them using Android. I also was working with Cake PHP back then. Also, I also delved into UI design, UI UX design. I'm sure, Tommy, you remember when we attended this UX masterclass back
No.
in, I don't know if you still remember. Um, that was at this business school that was organized by Google. Um,
Was it the
yeah.
one that Okoyemi Awoyemi organized? I think there was one.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think it was that one, but I know that some Google people came around to teach us for like a day or two, and so on and so forth. So I've had this experience across board, and now here I am doing front end, and this was something that was, let me say, it was just by opportunity.
Hmm.
In 2017, when I was told to apply for a job at Venture Garden Group, and I did that, and that's how I'm here right now, right, doing front end development. And now it's been an interesting journey so far for me, and then I sort of found this place as the sweet spot for me, where I can then decide to branch to other technologies, right? Like I mentioned earlier, right where I work, I've had to work with PM, with Java, and then Kotlin, right? But
Yeah.
I still have this at my strong spot where I can then do other things. So that's just a brief about
Yes,
how I
thank you very much. Thank you. So that means from what you shared, that means it was not really clear from the onset, and
wasn't
you had to
wasn't really.
try quite a number of things before you got here. So thank
Yes.
you very much for that. So Kingsley, I think I'll be asking a different question. Um, so have you ever had any form of imposter syndrome? Because Daniel was saying that you were one of his instructors in the time past. You are working at Meta. You were once a principal engineer. For those of our listeners or our viewers, just in case you didn't know or you don't know what principal engineers are, so let me tell you the path. You first start as a junior, then you start continue as a mid, then you become a senior one, senior two, staff engineer one, staff engineer two, and then you get to principal engineer. So he was previously a principal engineer before he switched to Meta. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, or were you always confident? I know my stuff. I'm very good. You can't stop me. I know everything. Just bring it. Because I looked through your LinkedIn profile and I went through to your recommendation area, and you have quite a number of recommendations from your senior colleagues, your managers, telling you, saying that you were like all rounder and all of that, very good, extremely things like that. So, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, or you can share with us, please?
Yeah, I mean the only answer to that is yes, definitely. Right. I think it's just part of the process. It's what makes you a better person, right? Because if you feel like you know it all and you're everything, then you probably would never amount to anything bigger than what you are at that point, right?
Mm.
So I see imposter syndrome as just one of the things you encounter, and it's not just once, right? It comes back every now and then, right? And I guess it's always been with me since forever. You know, there are like seasons where it just feels like you're probably doing something wrong, or you're not really as good as you imagined yourself to be. You know, there are situations where you find yourself where things are just not working the way you would expect them to work, right?
Sorry, sir. Examples, like is it during interviews? Because some of us, before we have interviews, we pray, we fast, we ask God for intervention. We pray that maybe the people on the, especially for technical interviews or team interviews, we pray that the people on the panel they'll be in a good mood. They'll be reasonable. They'll ask us reasonable questions during the interview. Have you ever experienced something like that? Any specific situation where you experienced that imposter syndrome, where maybe your hands were sweaty, you were stammering, things like that?
Of course, of course. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention earlier that everything I'm saying is entirely my opinion. It has nothing to do with my employer, and yeah, I'm not representing my employer either. I'm just representing myself. So just to get that out of the
Oh,
way. Yeah, so I have a few examples for sure. Like you said, for interviews, actually, I think a lot of people can relate to, you know, having interviewed a lot and just not getting anything working out for you, right? And sometimes you feel like maybe you're the one, maybe something is wrong with like how you presented your stuff, how you approach some solutions and stuff like that, right? And you know, there was a time where I was applying a lot and nothing was just working out, you know. And I mean, there are like a few of them where I feel like I'm probably, you know, picking something bigger than myself. But you have to try these things anyway and see how it works out, because you're never really sure, right? So there are those times where, I'm joining an interview, I'm not even sure like what is going to happen on this call. Is it going to work out well? Is it not going to work out well? I remember a few years ago, I was applying to Meta, to Google. None of them was working out, right? So I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm probably just not cut out for this positions. Maybe not yet, maybe not ever. I don't know. There's always those moments. But then the good thing is also that I've learned over the years that it's actually good to aim for the biggest fish possible, and if for some reason you're unable to catch that, there's a very good chance that you catch something close to that. And I think that's been something that helped me a lot in terms of, okay, if I didn't pass this interview at this big company, then my preparation probably would help me pass a smaller company, right? And that has worked for me in multiple cases. So like, this is one of the examples where I see this failure happening. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but still there is some positivity I can get out of that. At the end of the day, it works out somehow for me. So that's one example. There are also other examples where, like, we're trying to solve a problem and I'm unable to just come up with a good enough solution, and other people are actually coming up with good ideas, and I'm like, am I in the same room? What's going on? Why am I not coming up with the right ideas? This definitely happens, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a junior, a senior, a principal. There will always be some other person that's better than you at some things, right? Because the fact is, you can't really be the best at everything. It's almost impossible to be that, and this is also absolutely fine, right? So yeah, I guess like those are like a few examples I can think of now, but I'm also happy to see more if anyone needs more examples.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. Ezekiel. So for our viewers, just in case, Ezekiel didn't mention it, he used to be a team lead before he switched to an IC. So for your information, he was my manager at a point, reviewing my performance, and I was not promoted at a point, things like that. So just wanted to ask, did you ever regret switching from a manager to becoming an IC? So IC means individual contributor. That means you are a senior, you are putting in some work, you are being managed, you are not the manager this time around. So did you ever feel bad or regretting that switch? And do you hope to like switch, like move back to people management soon?
Well, did I regret it? No, I didn't. Actually, I wanted it. I felt like at that stage in my life, I needed to take a step back, right? And then try to improve my skill sets, right? In terms of how technically sound I was. The management track is not so easy. It's fraught with good things and bad things, right? Managing people, performance, products, and all that. I enjoyed it a lot, but I felt like I needed to just take a beat, right, and try to understand more, to explore more, and to learn more without the pressures of having to manage teams. And that was then. Yes, definitely, I would love to go back to being a manager, and that is something I'm actively pursuing at this point. So, um, yeah, this is where I am right now, and in the near future, you can be sure I would pick that up again.
Thank you. So just still on that same question, Ezekiel, what do you advise maybe people that were maybe managers now thinking of maybe relocating because or switching jobs, and they already know that somehow maybe the standard might be different, they will most likely not be leading teams if they decide to switch to another company, because we have instances of people remaining in a company 10 years, 15 years, and some of them might be afraid that if they switch, they might not be that boss again. If they were maybe probably tested, they might not do so well to get to that level. Do you have any advice or suggestion, or can just share with you?
Hmm. Well, so I believe everyone should at a point know what it is that they are looking for, right? Definitely, if you want to change your location, if you want to change your sector, your industry, or what have you, um, chances are you may or you may not get a manager role. It just depends on the kind of role and how you are able to get in there. But if the options ahead of you, if it's definite or if it's certain that you're not going to get that, then you should wonder, okay, fine, is this, if it's something I really still want to chase, am I willing to let go of this to prove myself and eventually grow into this thing, right? So it's all about the individual preference and the journey that people would like to take. It's not a scary one. I actually personally I have enjoyed, having to be an IC once again, right? And to learn and to integrate and to really understand the layout that I currently find myself. So I think it's a learning curve, and if anyone is willing to take that, then it's a good option. But if anyone is still interested in being a manager, then maybe they could look out for roles where that's still possible.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. So Daniel, during the course of your career journey, was there anytime you made a huge mistake, or any mistake you made that probably almost costed you your job, or maybe you had issues with your manager, maybe you're on PIP, performance improvement plan? Was there any instance like that, or you always had it smooth? You were always the player, always getting awards. Was there a time that you had issues with your performance, your output, things like that? And what
All right.
happened? What caused it?
Okay. Thanks for that question, Tony. So, well, the short answer to that is that um, there, should I say no? Right. I've not had it easy at all points in time across my career. Right. Fortunately for me, um, I don't think I've had any issues where things devolve, or maybe they're probably one experience actually. I may talk about that. So the first one, I think it was in 2015. Um, yeah, this was the startup I joined. That was me getting out of school, joining the startup, and of course. So what happened here was that, of course, yeah, jack of all trades most times. I was told to work on this API for a client, and I mean, I was getting into PHP. Was never so good in PHP before, so I have to also learn on the go. But because I was also trying to learn and also do, trust me, startups want you to deliver things yesterday. So,
Hmm.
I mean, so I did a shoddy job, right? It wasn't a good job, right? I mean, to date, looking at it back, I know that I always have handled it better. I'll probably just mention that. So what then happened was that we eventually lost that client, right? Um, but fortunately for me, I think my bosses understood that this boy is a newbie. So, they gave me, of course, they gave me another chance to, or there were other opportunities to explore within the startup to do other things. And of course, build mobile apps. I eventually still worked with PHP, but I think maybe the factor there was building the API part of things, right? I wasn't so strong with that aspect. So Cake PHP was more like a monolithic. You can use Cake PHP to build monolithic applications, right? Um, so so that was that. I think the second one was in 2020. 2022, which is more recent. So I had, while still working, I tried to get like a sort of second gig, right? So what that means is that I had to, of course, working with the company in Nigeria here and also doing my job. So do the company in Nigeria during the day, do the other one during the afternoon because of time zone differences. Now the
How was
challenge with that, yeah, I was
Hmm.
about to mention
How did
the
you play out?
challenge. The challenge with that is that you get burnt out easily because you are literally working around the clock, and it showed. It actually showed eventually, and what then happened was that there had to be a conversation as to. And I think that year I was also getting married, so there was the pressure all around that period, and I couldn't give the best, right? And so, because we had a mutual agreement with the company, I had to resign my position there to focus on this current job. I will just focus on it and give my best. So, I mean, for the lesson for me is that um, maybe some other people may be able to manage that. Maybe you don't have other responsibilities, but I think it's a lesson to. It's something to consider. And for me, I know that if I'm ever going to take a job like that, there are a lot of factors I have to consider before taking something like that. Yeah, so these are the periods I've had. The first one, 2015, the lesson for me there was that I needed to communicate early on about the challenges I was having, right? So maybe, I was trying to build this, I didn't know how to do it. I could have reached out to my other colleagues that, help me with this thing, guide me through this thing. And that would would have avoided losing that client, and I could have probably given a better output. And that's that. So, I mean, I'm going to stop there. Those are the two instances, but along other ones, I mean, fantastic, right?
There are others.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
you mean that?
so yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for being so transparent and honest about your of those instances and your journey. Thank you very much. So, Kingsley, so you said you've been in Germany for 7 years now. Just wondering how is working with an international or let's say a multicultural company different from working in a Nigerian setting? What did you have to like unlearn? What did you have to learn? Or what did you have to relearn? Did you have to pick probably a new accent? Or what did you do differently? For me, for example, there was a time I just recently joined the company where I am now. I sent some messages on Slack with caps lock, and the VP of engineering had to reply me that please you are yelling. You don't need to yell. Yell, and I was looking like yell. What do you mean by yelling? And then it dawned on me that okay, there's some maybe cultural difference. Little things I need to pay attention to. So, in your opinion, how has working in those two different settings been different? How have they been different? What did you have to pick up? What did you have to drop? And any other tips you have for people that might be switching soon or just recently in these settings?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Yeah, before I moved to Germany, I actually had never worked full time in a physical office.
Okay.
So that has a few pluses and minuses, as I would share in a bit. So yeah, like in Nigeria, I pretty much worked from home. So I guess I've been like a remote person since forever. Right. So moving to Germany in that sense made it relatively easier for me when I had to go to the office. That was my first time actually doing that. So I didn't have to unlearn anything in that regard. It was just learning how to do that, interacting with people, physically working with other people, the same building and everything. So I guess that one was easy for me. However, regarding communication, there was one of the very early issues. something that happened in 2017. I opened this PR, normal, stuff, sent for review and all that. Someone reviewed, gave some feedback. I was like, okay, this is nice.
Just for, sorry,
Sorry?
maybe when you want to use, if you want to use acronyms, maybe you can tell
Right.
full.
I'll do that. Yeah. PR is a pull request, just like a request for change. If you have some feature you're working on and you made some change and you want to publish that, I guess, merge that into like the main code repository, then it goes through a review process. And this is the situation at this time. So after this person sent the review, I looked at it, everything made sense. It wasn't any big change. It was just something pretty straightforward. I wrote that, and in the description of the message for the change, I wrote nitpick, which is a completely normal thing to write, right? And then this person messaged me and they were furious. Like, why did I say that they were nitpicking? So to them, they looked at this word, and what they understood from it was that I said they were complaining about insignificant things, which is a valid definition of nitpick. And I was completely confused. Like, this has nothing to do with you. This is just me making the changes you requested, right? And then they sent me like a screenshot of the definition of nitpick. I was like, oh, okay, I see what happened. So I had to also go look for the definition of what I intended and shared with them. Like, this is actually what I was trying to say. It has nothing to do with you. And I thought your feedback was actually very valuable. And I was just making that change, right? And then they were like, okay, they say it makes sense. And, we resolved that. But it was interesting because this was something for me that was completely innocent. I wasn't trying to attack anyone or anything, but that happened anyway because of something I wrote. So one thing that was obvious to me there was, well, I'm now in a multinational place. Some things I consider normal might not be normal for everybody. And even simple things like jokes might lack context for lots of people, right? So then you have to put more effort to actually creating the context and making people comfortable with that, and also just be conscious that there are more people now than what you would imagine is like the default context for everybody, and that helped a lot. But yeah, that was one of the interesting situations where that happened. But also, like, at the time, lots of people were from all over the world. Most people were not even like native English speakers, right? So it made sense. Again, for me, it was a completely new thing, right? And I would just assume that, of course, this is work. We all speak English, which is true. But then, the level of understanding of different people is different. And also their context awareness isn't the same. So you have to put extra care into just making sure you're not saying the wrong things. So I think one thing I've learned over the years being here is that it probably makes more sense to use the simplest words, right? Which is a completely different thing from when you're in Nigeria, where everyone wants to sound, sophisticated and use big words. Now I just use the smallest and easiest words as much as possible, unless it's a technical term, in which case there is a word for that. And well, it's not up to me to explain everything in detail unless it has to be, right? So I think that's also one of those cases where I had to sort of make adjustments just because of being here.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think that those are like a few interesting examples.
Okay. So I have like 4 questions, but some of our viewers already sending in questions. So briefly, so that means you might have to like answer the questions a bit more briefly so that we can accommodate more questions. So my first question, maybe it would go to Ezekiel. I've noticed that we have 2 types of, do I say engineers or techies, people that are freelancers, kind of, and people that are like in a proper employee settings. So that means what I mean is the first group of contractors, maybe working from Nigeria or working on platforms like Upwork. They wake up in the morning, the task is waiting for them, all they are requested to do, they just carry out the task, deliver. Next task, probably they are working at 2 different places, like Mr. Daniel mentioned earlier, and they're just pick up, drop, next one. Is there like a disadvantage in being a freelancer, or advantage, like comparing both situations now? And for me, I think there might be some maybe some drawbacks. But what if you think there is? What can
Oh,
that
okay.
situation?
I can't say. Okay, at some point I thought I'd be a freelancer, right? At some point I looked at that life and I felt it was very adventurous, right? For you to be able to wake up and you own your time, right? You get a job, you go to Upwork or Fiverr or all these kind of things, and you are able to get contracts and work on a wide range of projects, right? Because you never know which one that you're going to pick up. I felt it was a way to learn fast, get money. Of course, the money was the thing, right? To get money, and you own your time, and you could decide when you want to rest, when you want to work, and all that. But there's comfort in, for me. This is just for me, right? In having a career, right? In having a job, I think it has some sense of security there, and a sense of, okay, I have a career and I'm growing my career in this direction. This is where I want to be in a year or 2 years or 3 years if I constantly do this and exceed expectation, my KPIs, all those kind of things, right? It's pretty structured. So it's more predictable, right? Even though I feel like maybe it might not pay as much as freelancing. It might not, or it does, but I have had a sense of, or I've been tempted to try that adventure at some point. Who knows? Maybe I will. I don't think there's any drawback to it, but question is, even for freelancers, do they really get as many jobs as one thinks that they get, right? And are they really enjoying themselves? Do they really have so much money? They are different worlds, right? But all in all, if someone is adventurous, then they can decide to do that. It's good. But if someone wants more stability and they feel like in a 9 to 5 is great for them, then that's it too. So it's based on individual preferences really and perspectives.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Daniel, just in like 2, 3 minutes, what do you think? Maybe, probably you have the ability to go back in time. What would you do differently? If you like knowing what you know now, what do you think you would have done differently in your career? I mean,
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, what would I have done differently? I think sometimes I wish you had a flash, you could travel back in time, reverse flash, or what have you. So, I think I would. One thing I feel I could have done better was to be involved in community initiatives more. And now speaking back to Ife, right? Ife had a very vibrant, I don't know, I think they still do, vibrant tech
okay,
community, right? I think I didn't take advantage of that community. I think I I jumped on that later, right? When
okay,
I think, yeah, quite later than expected. So I think a lesson for me is that I would have been part of that community, because what you have there is that when you have community of like minds doing a thing, right, you can like you can have a 10x of whatever you're trying to set out to achieve, and then you have diverse minds coming together to help you. Like maybe you have an idea and they could actually help you dissect it and make it better, right? So that's like the main thing I think I would have changed. So the second thing I think I would have done more, right, is to like I think in recent times I've been doing more of mentorship. I think I would have also sort of gotten into that space more. I noticed that I think I've been doing this for a couple of years, maybe 3 years now, and there's some value I get from mentoring people, right? And putting people through what I even got to build a 3-step approach, right? You learn a thing, you practice it, and then you teach it to others, right? And that helps me to cement what I know, right? So that's, I would say, let me just stop there because of time. Those two things, right? Being involved in communities and also being and open up myself to mentoring others. Yeah.
Okay.
Is Tommy still here? No?
Doesn't look like it.
Oh, okay. So
Look, can you
we
still hear me?
Yeah, we can
Can
hear
you
you
still
now.
hear
you're
me?
back now.
We can hear
You're
you.
back.
Now we can hear you.
Sorry about that. Okay, so for emphasis, he mentioned community. So that means community of like minds. If you're a student, for computer science students now, we have NACOS, IEEE, GGG groups, and all of that. If you are an engineer, there will probably be some WhatsApp groups, some meetups. So just continue attending that, and then of course mentoring others. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be like a mentoring platform like what we have in Ladder, but it could be a platform like in your office. You have junior colleagues helping people. You are having probably like talks, presentations. So you're trying to like practice by teaching others. So thank you very much for that, Daniel. So Kingsley, I think this would be your last question. What have you noticed in like let's say career paths or career journeys of like budding engineers? What do you think they're maybe doing well or doing better than those in your sets or when you started 13 years ago? What do you think they're doing better, or what do you think they're not doing well that could be improved on? Or have you observed anything? Is there anything you wish to share with like budding engineers that could be done concerning their career growth?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually. Yeah, it's two ways, I would say. I think now there is more access to content, right? Like there's lots of articles, videos, and everything that anyone can get access to, free ones, paid ones, all of this different medium media. And I think that's a good thing in terms of young budding engineers, like you said. They have access to these things now, right? And it makes life relatively easy in some sense, in terms of like, yeah, you're not alone. Like, if you search for something, you most likely will see some result on, I don't know, Medium or like Stack Overflow, anywhere, right? And that's a good thing that I think lots of people are taking advantage of now, which it's absolutely fantastic, right? And also, like, with introduction of like AI tools and things like this, it makes life easier in a good sense. But also there is a part where these things can also get overwhelming, right? Especially for someone that's just learning, someone that's just starting, and they're looking for how to know more about a particular topic, but there's like so much information out there. You can get confused, you can get scared, and that's also like a thing that actually happens now. So I think these are like interesting things I've seen in terms of people that are just starting out and how it can be helpful or not helpful to them depending on the situation, right? That's one thing. Another thing also is that for someone that's just starting out, you see people are more accessible to you these days. So you can see like someone that's senior, someone that has experienced this many years and all that. And that can intimidate you. You might start to feel like you probably would never get to that point, or it's going to take too long, or there's just so many things that can come to your mind that could probably make it difficult for you to actually focus, right? But I think the reality is just that at the end of the day, we all are still learning, right? Whether you have 10 years, whether you have 2 days, we're always learning. There's always something new to learn. And, the more you accept that, the easier it is for you to understand that you're not really alone, right? It's a spectrum. You're just on one side of that spectrum. And there will always be lots of people in front of you and behind you, right? And maybe this somehow is helpful to someone that is, just at that point of starting out, which might be like an helpful tip, I would say, for them. Another thing is also like, I've seen people that do not want to ask for help because for them it feels like, oh, it probably would make me look weak or I'm unable to do my job, things like that. And honestly, that is just like a very incorrect way of thinking about it, right? Because again, asking for help doesn't determine whether you're a senior or a junior. It just means that you've actually successfully figured out something. You found something that you can actually articulate and ask for help for, right? Because if you don't even know what you're doing, you don't know how to ask for help, you don't even know what needs to happen. But if you've been able to sort of isolate a problem to like, you figured out these are like potential things that might be causing this problem, or this is even the problem that I'm facing at the moment, then it's easier for you to ask for help, right? And in that sense, I see that as a strength, right? Come to me, ask me for help. If I have an idea of what you're doing, I can, we can debug this together or something like that. And otherwise, I can refer you to someone that probably has more knowledge about this thing. And you can deliver faster, you can be more efficient, and you probably even get, better reward for doing all of that, right? I don't know, I guess there isn't really so much time anymore. So one other thing is what did I want to say? Yeah, just thinking about how you want to see yourself and how you want people to see you, right? So this is more in terms of yeah, I'm trying to get to this point, and maybe I don't care for the team, I don't care for anybody, I just want to do whatever I have to do to get there. That is starting to create a bad impression, which it might be good for you, like in a short term, but in the long run, it probably will be detrimental to your career path, right? So be empathetic in the way you do things, in what you do, and think about what is the perception you are creating for other people that you're working with, right? For your colleagues, for your managers, and stuff like that. And I think that also helps a lot in just being aware of what is around you and how you can help others help you, and how everybody can be better together. I think those are like a few things I just want to touch on.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Ezekiel, this would most likely be your last question. As Ladder Tech platform is like a mentoring platform where senior engineers like our guests mentor upcoming engineers. So our guests are mentors. We've had 2 cohorts. We are looking at having our 3rd cohort later this year in a couple of months. And so that leads to my question for Ezekiel. As a mentor, of course, have you ever been mentored by anyone or been inspired by anyone? Not necessarily maybe software quality assurance related, or just in your career, someone you looked up to, not necessarily having one-on-one sessions every time, but someone you looked up to and you asked a couple of questions, you had clarity after such conversations, and of course, why did you choose to mentor on Ladder Tech form, and that's around mentoring? And how
Yes,
important is it to have a mentor?
I I have been inspired by a number of people throughout my career, right? And it's mostly people that I have interacted with while I was working, and these could be colleagues or some managers that I've worked with. I've worked with some really amazing people, and often I sit down with them and I talk about either the issues that I'm experiencing or what I'm facing or the problems that I am having with growth, and I get some very good advice. I'm still talking with a few of them till today. And even at my current job at HelloFresh, there was a program, a mentorship program, and I got mentored by someone, and I found it very interesting having a structured path to to get over something or to surmount some challenge or to learn something, right? It's pretty valuable, and if anyone has the opportunity to do it, then that will definitely be the way to go. And that is why I joined. I opted to be part of Ladder Mentorship because I like to teach. Really, I like to instruct. I like to help. I like to share the knowledge that I have, or to provide some other alternatives to issues, try to troubleshoot because I think that is just what I like doing. So I like to help people walk through things or help them grow. I've realized that I'm really invested in people and in growth. So I just wanted an opportunity to share what I did, and I'm grateful that Lada was had like accepted me and helped me to be able to achieve that part of my longing, of my desire, right, to do this. So thank you. I'll say thank you to Ladder Tech right now, just in case I don't have the chance to. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to mentor, and I'll be happy to come on board the third cohort to do that as well.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much for that. So, Tunde, Daniel, Tunde, we have a question from the audience. Saint Francis, they're saying working in an area where the learning and adapting to changes happens every couple of years. How do you keep yourself motivated, constantly learning? So, for example, we have in tech. Can you hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, like tech, like everyone is aware that tech, we are usually having new frameworks, new tools, new ways of doing things. How do we keep ourselves updated? We were having a conversation with mentors. We had like do I say unofficial, like informal gathering at an eatery, and someone was saying what helps him is that like practice, hands-on, helps him to like learn new things. Or do you think we should join communities? Should we go for conferences every year, every 6 months? What do you recommend?
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for that question. So I'll try to answer that question briefly. Seems like there are a lot of things that can be said. Um, I mean, if you want to learn a technology, right? First thing you need to do, I recommend doing, is to set clear goals, as to like know what you want to achieve with respect to that technology, right? Oh, let me even start from the point, right? I don't think any we should. I would advise anyone at first that, let's say you know a technology right now. I'll give an instance. In the world of JavaScript, we have gone through many phases of different libraries, frameworks coming out, right? I think the one that is, yeah, I'm not giving examples, right? So it is very easy for one to be intimidated, right? With the new, like, libraries that come out and all that. But what then you have is that in most companies, right, they would rather, it's really not an easy thing to switch to a new technology, right? It takes a lot of investment, right? To say you want to change, for example, someone changing from um, um, React to Vue, right? It's a company that has established themselves using React or build their products using React. It's not something that will take a lot of investment, but most companies want to make money, right? So it's really would take a lot of convincing to do that. So I would say do not be intimidated by new technologies that are coming up, right? You just need to do your research, right? Do your research, look at the ones that have stood the test of time, the ones that have been used widely, and then set clear goals, right? I love this book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, right? Which I don't know if any of us know about Atomic Habits, right? Where it talks about you, it's all about, even about setting goals about what you want to be, right? But then you being able to set goals that are achievable, right? And you can actually tick the boxes, right? So you are not conquered by the large goal of learning this technology, but you can just set a clear goal of, oh, I want to, for example, if it's JavaScript, right? I could say that this week I want to learn all about prototyping. and that's what you focus on, right? So that's an achievable goal. It's clear, right, and it's realistic. So you want to set clear goals. You want to also be part of communities, right? And you can attend conferences or workshops. I know there are paid workshops and there are free workshops, right? So if you can pay for a workshop, you need to do your research first. Be sure that people who have attended such workshops in the past and they benefited from it. And these workshops do not necessarily need to be physical workshops, right? They are virtual workshops. There's a platform I subscribe to called Front End Masters, right? So Front End Masters, they teach a lot of technologies. They have live workshops that one can join, but of course you need to subscribe, right, to be part of that. So and of course there are free ones also, maybe in your locality, right, that are organized by NGOs or not necessarily NGOs, but organizations. So be part of communities and also attend workshops. Another thing that to help is there's a lot of distraction in today's world, right? Social media is a distraction, right? Even more than social media, it's a lot. And that could also eat into your time because you want to be able to create ample time to learn. Learning actually requires time, but it's very easy for us to get distracted. So you want to apply like different techniques for learning things. For example, I make use of Pomodoro technique a lot, right? Where I set a particular time. I use it at work, but I think it also can be used when learning things, right? Oh, I'm going to set this block of time for 45 minutes, for an hour, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to be learning this thing, right? Maybe you're reading a book or practicing something, and then take a break for like 5-10 minutes and come back to it, right? At the end of the day, then do an assessment as to you'll see that you've achieved a lot, right? So I'm going to just stop there. A lot of things I will have also said. Mentorship also a big thing, right? Find someone who can mentor you, who you can ask questions, and they can help you in your journey. So you have your goals, you present your goals to this mentor, and then they can help you in your progress journey, just checking your progress and all that. Yeah, so I'm going to stop there.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you very much. We've exceeded our time by like 5. Well, although we started a bit late, like 2 minutes late, but it's 5 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much for coming, Daniel, Kingsley, Ezekiel. Thank you, our viewers on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for your time. If you are interested in knowing more about our mentoring, you can check our website, theladdertech.com. TheLadderTech.com, the Ladder Tech, or just Google Ladder Tech platform on LinkedIn and you'll find our website. So thank you once again, everyone. Have a lovely night. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.